Let's go back to local politics now, and some figures out today. Inflation eased even further. Prices rising 2.1%, I think, over the year to May, the slowest pace since 2024. Now, I am a bit puzzled by this because, I mean, we see inflation going down. Jim Chalmers was today celebrating this. Have a listen.
This is the lowest that inflation has been for years. It's the lowest headline inflation since the beginning of 2021. It's the lowest underlying inflation since the end of 2021, and also means for the first time since these monthly records have been kept that we have seen 6 consecutive months now of inflation within the Reserve Bank's target range.
Well, that's the numbers. To break it down and what it really means, UNSW economics professor Gigi Foster joins me now. Professor, okay, good news maybe for people with a mortgage, inflation rate 2.1%. Why then, I hope you can answer this question, does it feel everything's going up?
Yeah, Steve, that's a very common complaint, and part of it is because, first of all, prices are rising. 2.1% doesn't mean they're not rising. It means they are rising by 2.1% over the year in estimate. Secondly, of course, anytime you try to measure the consumer price index, which is what inflation is based on, you have a very perilous task in front of you. There are all sorts of ways in which those numbers are quite dicey. There's shrinkflation, where you have a smaller amount of chocolate, let's say, that you buy for the same price, and so it seems like it's kind of the same, but it's not. You're not getting quite as much. That can then not necessarily be captured in the way the CPI is measured. And there are lots of other measurement issues. You have a basket of goods that is measured for price. Maybe that's not the basket that a particular household is buying. There are also differences in the rate of growth in prices for different types of goods. So fruits and vegetables, fruits actually went down in price this month, but other things may be going up. And so depending on what you buy, you are feeling the hit more. And of course, finally, not everybody owns a house or an apartment or any property. So those who do will be hoping that their banks will pass this on, but there's only about 30% or so of Australians. And the people who are renting are going to have to rely on their landlords to give them a break. And I kind of doubt that that's likely. Usually you don't get rent decreases in the world. You only get rent increases. Hopefully, at least we won't get that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, this figure is very fragile. I mean, it includes a drop in fuel prices. Well, we know what's going on in the Middle East and the threat there to oil supply. So we could get a massive increase or spike in fuel prices coming up in the next few weeks, if not months. And it also said that, as you mentioned, rents went down. Well, anecdotally, rents everywhere are through the roof because of demand, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of, particularly in the big cities, as you know, huge amounts of housing shortage. And really, it's not necessarily like if we could just distribute the people in those cities to the places that are available, then we wouldn't have a shortage. But we have a lack of capacity utilization. We have poor policy. We have poor kind of interaction with the property developers around the needs that the society has. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on there in the market that's perpetuating this problem, in addition to, you know, other things you might mention, like student immigration and whatnot, that are putting pressure on rents. Anecdotally, I mean, I've never been in a place where I've had a rent decrease. So, you know, I think that's not as likely as, for example, the banks passing on a mortgage repayment decrease to their customers. I mean, this issue of sort of, you know, what is it really feeling like to people is so big that actually we are organizing, if people who are in Sydney would like to come, a big dialogue on the cost of living problem, because everybody seems to be still talking about it despite these figures. That's coming up on the evening of Monday, the 7th of July. On the fuel point, I mean, one of the things that the Australian government has in its back pocket is that we have a fuel excise tax being applied at the federal level, right? And that tax is about 50 cents on the litre at the moment. So I think probably what's likely is if we did see a really massive market increase of that price, then the government would just wheel back out their kind of, oh, look, we're going to reduce the fuel excise tax and make everybody's lives easier kind of line. And that will be very popular. You can see how hard Chalmers is hitting this monthly inflation figure because he just loves it, right? I mean, this is just absolute political gold for him. And there's still more gold in the, ace in the hole if, in fact, we do get hit with higher fuel prices because of what's happening in the Middle East or any other disruptions to trade.
Yeah, great stuff, Gigi. Thank you very much for that. You explained it very well. Good luck with that round table about cost of living, because I'm sure you'll get some pretty grim stories.